everybody, I'm back, and this time I'm looking at the Beastmaster. The Beastmaster is a Ranger and a Druid combination, and I'm going to take a look at this class while explaining some of the user interface and mechanics of combat that I've touched on here and there in some of my other videos, but I've been asked to sort of detail a little bit more about how the game kind of works, like what the abilities mean, for example. Some of the things that are written on some of the abilities may not be intuitive until you've, sort of experimented and looked through the log a few times. So, let's start with abilities. Let's take a look at a couple abilities and just sort of see how they work. So let's look at Heal Companion. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you right now, if you just carefully read these things one line at a time, they'll make a lot more sense than if you just try and go right to the effect. Also, it's important to note, because this tripped me up a couple times, read the descriptions, because it doesn't always seem intuitive if you just look straight up at what the text says, the effect says. As an example, I'm trying to find, like, Merciless Companion. Is that one of them? No. Here we go. Here's an example. If you were picking this at level up, you might look at this and go, ooh, Predator Sense, 50% damage. I'm grabbing that. You gotta notice that it says, heightens the predatory instincts of the Ranger's animal companion, giving them a damage bonus on any creature suffering a damage over time effect. So, if you didn't read this text, you might be inclined to think you're going to get 50% more damage all the time. So that's just a quick note. Not all of them are quite that, I guess insidious, but sometimes they can be. So make sure you read the descriptions. So let's start with just a real quick one. Then you're going to have the level of the ability, no big deal. Then you're going to have the cost. And let's talk about, real quick, cost. Every class has a resource pool. For Rangers, it's called Bond. And if you go down here, you'll see I've got 5 points of Bond. You begin with 2 points of most classes. Spellcasters are a little bit different, but most classes start with 2 points in their chosen pool. Discipline for fighters. I think it's like Rage for barbarians. Bond for Rangers. And as you gain levels, every couple levels, depending if you're multi-class or single class, you'll get a power level, which is when you get new fancy skills, like a new tier of abilities to pick from. When that happens, your overall power level has increased, meaning across the board, all of your stats are going to be better. Not necessarily these, I guess. Well, here we go. Here's an example. Heal Companion goes up a little bit every power level. So this was 20 health, and now it's 25, thanks to a combination of my might stat being a little above 10 and my power level being a little above 1. In fact, it's 5% per power level over 1, looks like. So power level is important, and that's part of why multiclassing is a little bit tricky, because when you're multiclassed, you're going to hit those power levels behind when a single class character would have. So just something to think about when you're deciding if you want to go multi-class or not. And of course, since power level directly correlates to improved stats on your spells and abilities, it's something to keep in mind that you're going to be a little behind on that curve as well. But not too much. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but it's not inconsiderable. Okay, so going back to this, we have a bond cost of 2. Resource pool, another note on this, if you spend those points, they do not come back on their own. The only way to get your resource pool points back is to start a new combat, pretty much, where you begin that next fight with your maximum pool, refresh and ready to go, or to cast or use this Empower ability on yourself, which will give you, I think, like half rounded up, maybe, of your pool back for that one fight. You can only empower once per fight. And if you use one of your empowers, and by the way, I have 2 empowers because I'm level 9. You have 1 empower when you're low level. 2, presumably outside of level 9, you'll get a 3rd empower to use. And then how empower works is once you use it, it's gone until you rest. So you got to be kind of sparing with when you decide to drop it in power to replenish your pool. Also note, you can empower an ability, which gives it effectively 10 additional power levels, I think I read. So if I were to hobbling shot this guy, it's going to be quite a bit more duration, for example, because the power level will be quite a bit higher. We are not going to do that. I just wanted to say you could do that. All right, so that's power level, or that's cost. Now, every ability has two markers for its time. Cast time and recovery time. The cast time is how long it takes to cast, meaning when you've got that little icon over your head and it's showing off, what you're going to be doing and it's counting down, that's casting time. After you do that action, the recovery time, which is modified by like your armor, this is going to be real low because I'm stealthed, but I won't be stealthed once I use it. So let's actually just get into the fight and take a look at some of these things in actual use. Alright, let's have him take this guy down. Now, this doesn't have recovery timer or like casting timer. That's because this ability instead uses whatever your primary attack is. In this case, the claw attack of this kitty face. So we're going to do that. Walk him over here. Now you're going to see right here on top, there's the icon. It's going to start counting down. It was very light. It's almost done already. It was very quick. You probably couldn't actually see. I'm not sure how good the quality will be on that. But it was counting down very quickly because the attack of this cat is very fast. So now we hit him. So let's do something that's slower. Let's do a hobbling shot. Full attack. Actually, that's going to be pretty fast for him because it's going to be using, once again, his weapon attack. Let's do something slow like a spell. Dancing Bolts. Dancing Bolts is a casting time of 2.8 seconds, which is reduced because of my dexterity, and a recovery time of 5, which is only 5 because I'm wearing scale armor. So armor, basically what armor is doing is it's slowing me down. But it's not making the ability slower, it's just making it slower before I can do another ability. Let's watch this in action. Alright, so it's counting down. I cast it. Now, you see this silver bar, gold bar below my character's health? That's the recovery bar. I can queue up another action right now, like he's actually going to currently attack this guy. Let's have him attack this guy. He'll walk over there, but he will not be able to attack until that recovery bar is finished going all the way down. He's going to just stand there, looking cool, until he does. Oh, now he's going to be paralyzed. And you'll notice he got paralyzed and the bar stayed frozen. Now, he attacks. Alright, and he's got to recover from that. And he's recovering, and he'll attack. Now, that's recovery. That's we talked about recovery. Pools, casting time, range is pretty obvious there. 10-meter range. Area effect in the case of when the spell has an area effect, that's going to be influenced by intelligence. The next thing I want to talk about is the mouse over tooltip. Right above Lagwafeth Mage, you see a 66% in yellow, a 3 with a little shield, and 100% with a little sword. What does that mean? Alright, this is super, super important for the readability of the game's combat system. Once you understand what these numbers are telling you, everything else will kind of click into place, I think. That's how it worked for me anyway. Before I swing at this guy, I don't know anything about his numbers because in this beta I've never fought this creature before. As you fight creatures, your party knows their stats, and then you can get more information by just mousing over things. For now, I've swung at him, and I know that his deflection is 43. So when you do an attack, you're attacking. I wonder if I have that. I wonder if that's in the weapon. So here you go. Here's my saber. I'm attacking. Chance to hit is my accuracy, which is 68, versus deflection. Now, that symbol, that 66% there, that's the deflection symbol. And it's showing me that because that's what I'm currently targeting him with. If I was to hit him with Dancing Bolts, which targets reflex, because I've already done this once, I know his reflex. And his reflex means, with my accuracy, there will be a 45% chance that these dancing bolts will hit him. Given his deflection, there will be a 66% chance that my saber will hit him. This targets willpower. So let's try and cast this on him. Oh, what's this question mark? I've never used an ability that has willpower, so I have no earthly idea what my percent chance is going to be. I can try it though, because you'll notice in the corner there, upper left, his deflection is 43, his reflex is 46. We know that because we've used abilities that target those defenses before. Now we're going to do this Nature's Mark, and it's going to reveal to us what his willpower is. By the way, if this hits, it's going to minus 10 deflection, minus 10 to his reflex for 36 seconds. And on a side note, you'll notice how it says foe AoE. That means it only hurts foes. I can go ahead and drop this on party members. Like I could cast this over here, and it's only going to hurt this guy. It's not going to mess with Kitty Face. I could drop it like this if I wanted to. The other thing I wanted to show off here... Oh, I know. The casting circle. You will notice around the area effect casting circles in this game, there's a filled in shaded part in the center, which is in this case the majority of the circle, and then a lightly shaded part on the outer edge. That lighter outer edge shaded part is the benefit of your higher intelligence stat, expanding the area effect of spells. He only has like a 12 in intelligence, so it's not really expanding much, but it is helping a little bit. So, and we'll describe that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Let's cast this here. Okay, what's he got? He's got a 42 for willpower. So if I were to cast it again, and I can't because I'm out of uses, or am I? Let's empower, and you'll notice when I empower, I get my spells back and my bond pool back immediately. Boom. I don't have to even unpause the game. So now, just for fun, let's put this over. Now it shows me 49% because I'm aware of his willpower. I don't know his, though. Even though they're actually the same creature, they're both Lagotheth mages, I don't know what this specific creature's willpower is. I just know his. So let's do... the next thing. Okay, so... Now, the next question you're wondering, first one, I might be wondering, why is that now 76%? Well, Nature's Mark is affecting him, reducing his deflection. His deflection being lower is why it's easier for me to hit him now with my sword. So that all comes together. The next number you're going to see there is a 3 and then 100%. Let's start with this guy. A 9 versus question mark. That 9 is his armor value. That 9 is my weapon's penetration value. 9. Which is just because it's 7 for a saber plus 2 for being exceptional. 9 points of penetration against what? We don't know what his armor is. But we know what this guy's armor is because we've attacked him before. And we actually know that this guy's armor must be 6. Because what it's telling me is against the slashing damage type of my saber, that's what the little sword indicates, the little sword icon, I'm going to be able to do 100% full damage to him because I'm 3 points over his penetration. So let's take a look at that. Let's hit him, hopefully. Alright, I got him. It was just a normal hit. You will notice that down there in the lower left corner it says penetration 9, which we knew, versus 6, which we also knew because it was showing us the difference of 3 on this little tooltip. If I walk over here and attack this guy... Oh, we can actually try and heal our... Here, let's select this guy. He's actually got 4 points ahead with Kitty Face's attack there. So he'll do full damage. We don't know for sure what this guy is, but once I attack, we will. Of course, once I attack, he'll probably die. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and... I'm just going to heal this guy. Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. That wasn't a lot of healing for as long as it took to cast. Okay, so let's do this. Let's finish this guy off here. Oh, by the way, his now is 86% to hit because he's flanked. So his deflection is reduced, I guess. I mean, it doesn't show it's reduced, but it is. Okay. So that's that. That was weird. The game like hung on me for a second there. Okay, so that's the tooltip there. Let's see, what else do I want to show off, mechanically speaking. Let's go up here and take a look at this fight. So here we've got another situation where we don't know insect swarm attacks fortitude. We don't know these guys' fortitude. Now this... Oh, he did enter the fray, it looks like, or something. What happened there? He hit me with a paralytic dart, but I got dragged into the fight. I don't know what happened there. He's going to do that. Oh, and also it's important to note that you can see what your enemies are doing, and if you recognize the icons from just playing a lot, that's actually kind of useful. See, he's doing brand enemy, or mark enemy, the ranger ability. So he's going to mark probably someone. Me. Because the red line is he's fighting me right now. He's engaged with me. Okay, there he got me. And I think that was Brandon, or Sworn Enemy. That's what it's called, Sworn Enemy. Alright, let's knock this guy down. Let's pop a buff on both of us. And let's just finish this fight off. By the way, the Taste the Hunt, primary attack. When you see primary attack, that means it's only going to be using whatever your primary weapon in your main hand is, like your right hand weapon. If you see something like Hobbling Shot that says full attack, you'll actually use both weapons in your hand if you're dual wielding a weapon. So that means if you actually were to be dual wielding daggers, for example, when you do Hobbling Shot, boom, you're going to hit with both. And the range for Hobbling Shot, it says weapon, which means it's whatever the range of your currently equipped weapon is, indicating you can in fact use a melee weapon with this ability if you want. I feel like that covers the majority of like how to read icons like that. I hope. What's he doing? He's laying on hands. He's a paladin? Jeez. I've fought this guy dozens of times. I never noticed he was a paladin, I guess. Or I forgot. Alright, let's try and hit him again with this. We need to get this guy around here. Alright, now he just got... he's engaged. Kitty face ran. So he should have taken... disengagement attack. So how disengagement and engagement work is that if you are having this red line drawn to you from an enemy, you're engaged, quote unquote, with him. And if you were to leave, oh, he killed the guy. That's how he did it. So watch me walk away. Okay. I'm trying to walk away, but this guy's like stuck to me. No, let me walk away. Okay, there he goes. Okay, so he got a big disengagement. You see the word disengagement here in the log? That happened because I walked away from him. That's kind of how tanking works. You get in engagement range. You try and engage, hopefully, a couple guys. Normally, you can only engage one enemy at a time, but if you are a fighter with a certain stance, or a paladin of a certain order with a shield equipped, like there's different ways to gain extra engagement. There's a passive or two that does it. So you can have a fighter with like 6 engagement, and just all the enemies are engaged with your character, and if any of them walk away from you, trying to run over and attack your wizard in the back row, you get a free disengagement attack. And disengagement attacks are nasty. They do 100% damage. They have a bonus to their attack roll, I think. Let's see if that's shown here. Damage to hit was 83. They definitely have an attack roll bonus, but the weird visual bug with the log, I'm not able to show it to you. There's just a lot of bonuses to disengagements. You don't want to be disengaging unless you absolutely have to. And you think you can survive it anyway. Oh, this guy wasn't dead. Now he's flanked. It's also kind of nice how status effects, when they are acquired, float as like text over your character, and then when they're gone, like when this guy's no longer flanked, you'll see the flanking float with a line through it, there, like that. That screen keeps shifting over here, by the way, because I have the smart camera turned on, And my other party members are over here, so the camera's trying to swing back over to them. I should just have turned that off, but I didn't think of it. I'm not going to re-record the whole thing, so you get what you get. Alright, he's no longer immobilized. He's hobbled. This guy's going to do extra damage. Oh, this guy dropped. Excellent. There we go. Alright, so I didn't play very smart, but the Beastmaster, by the way, on a side note, was kind of an awesome combination. I was testing with him earlier. Let's see, what other mechanics do we need to talk about? Every time you drop in combat, you gain one of these little pips, little blood drops will fill up, and you'll get like an injury, which is like a long-term effect that will be related to how you were dropped. Like if, for instance, you were hit with a fireball, you'll have some sort of burn that will reduce some of your stats until you rest. And if you have 3 of these blood drops, 3 injuries, and you sustain a 4th injury, your guy dies. So don't let that happen. Okay, I'm back. I put a little cut in there because I wanted to bring up a different character to show off a few different concepts that my last character would have a hard time showing off. Specifically, let's take a look at, I mentioned before how there's an outer ring for area of effect type things. For example, let's look at this character here. He is a Tempest with an intelligence of 20. So he has a plus 100% to area effect. So if you look at his area effect for the very same spell we looked at earlier, Nature's Mark, you'll notice you can much more easily see that secondary ring that indicates how much more range that spell has. Let's look at something else real quick, because there's another key piece to this. Fireball is not foe area effect, which this is, so it only affects foes. Fireball doesn't care if you're a foe or not, it's just area of effect, and it's going to do a lot of damage versus reflex. And if I put my cursor over here, you can see most of my guys are going to take full damage or more. For whatever reason, this guy's going to take 130% more because he's got like, oh, not for whatever reason. It literally is because I have 4.8 penetration more than my armor. That's why it's blue. If it was red, it'd be just a little under 50%. I think if you go like 1 or between 0 and 1 under, it's 70% damage, and then 50% damage if you're 1 to 2 points of penetration under the armor, and if you're 3 or less under the armor, you're going to do 25%, which I think is the minimum. I forgot to mention that earlier. So now here's the important thing. The intelligence, you'll wonder maybe why is the center of this spell red instead of being a lighter or a less opaque, rather, yellow. That's because that's the part that's a foe AoE. I can drop this fireball right here and not hit my own characters because the bonus range your intelligence provides is not considered friendly fire. So I can actually put this fireball right here. Now if I move it up, you'll see it's going to actually hurt these guys. But if I put it right here, it'll hit enemies that are in that outer ring, but it will not hit my own characters. Let's see, another piece I wanted to show off that I forgot about was the idea of inspirations and afflictions. In the past, spells and effects would just leave you with bonuses to stats or penalties to stats or whatever, and it would just be a simple matter of infuse with vital essence, gain 5 constitution and whatever it did in the first game, I don't remember. Now they've taken all those concepts and rolled them up into keywords, and each attribute, there's 6 attributes, might, constitution, dexterity, perception, intelligence, and resolve, and here's the things they do in case you're curious. I'll leave this up. You can kind of get an idea of what these stats all provide by me clicking through here and giving you some examples here. So every attribute has different 3 different inspirations. Those are keyword buffs. For example, Constitution, I believe, has fit +5 Constitution, and then it's got like Hardy, which is, I think, does anyone have that spell? No, my last guy was able to cast Hardy, and it gives like +5 Constitution and +2 armor. Like there's that might be the level 3. I actually, hang on. I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna bring up a diagram that describes which inspirations and which afflictions there are for each attribute. Okay, so here is the affliction inspiration chart. For example, I was talking about Fit earlier. Fit's +5 Constitution, Hardy is +5 Constitution and +2 armor rating, and Robust is 5 Constitution, 2 armor rating, and regeneration of 10 hit points every 3 seconds. So that's kind of how they all work. And then the affliction, for example, for intelligence, is Confused, where your attacks can hit your friends and foes. Charmed, where your alliance is literally flipped and you can't use abilities. And then Dominated, where your alliance is flipped and you can use abilities. It's just that your character suddenly thinks he's an enemy. Or vice versa. So that's how this works. Now, the important bit about this here is one affliction from Might will be countered out by an inspiration from Might. So if your character is dazed and you can somehow throw a strong on him or whatever, any of these, it will not stick, but it will remove the affliction. And the reverse happens. If you're up against an enemy who has currently got Robust and you're having a really hard time breaking through that armor or hurting him, you can throw anything that can cause sicken or weaken or enfeeble. Any one of these will remove any one of these. So that's kind of how that works. Alright, back in the game. So that's the affliction system. Let me see here. I wanted to talk about interrupts next. There are various effects in the game, for example, Spirit Shield, that create a concentration. And a concentration is literally like a shield against being interrupted. In the first game, interrupts were kind of a mess. They were just like, as you dealt damage, the attacks you had would generate interrupt. It would like make your character who is in the middle of an action take longer to do that action. Now interrupts are a little more robust and a little more potent, because if you interrupt somebody's action, it literally cancels the action and they've spent those resource points. So for example, my rogue, if he's in the middle of doing a something takes like devastating blow, and we're waiting for his recovery to cool down, like we showed in the golden bar below his health. We're waiting for that to come down, and somebody hits him with an effect that interrupts. He'll lose that devastating blow. He'll lose the action. He'll have to pick a new action, and he will lose the 2 points that he was going to use on that. So what you want is concentration to prevent that from happening. And there's many ways to get concentration: potions, items, spells and abilities, things like that. And how do you interrupt? Different abilities have interrupt listed. So Confounding Blind interrupts on a hit. Note that a hit is not a graze, so if he grazes with Confounding Blind, it will not interrupt. However, I think I don't have Strike the Bell, and I can't look at that ability. But there are some abilities that do interrupt on graze. There are also abilities like Fireball that interrupt on crit. So if you score a critical hit, it'll interrupt. Things like that. A little bit of variety in there. So that's interrupts, inspirations. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to show off. So I guess that'll do it for now. I think I've covered at least the high points of the game's mechanics, at least in terms of combat. If you guys have any questions or want more like additional information or details, I'd be happy to put together something or at least answer in the comments. So once again, thanks for watching, and let me know if there's any other questions you have.